August 9th, 2021, and it is 6:15. I've been at the screen for about 30 minutes, and it looks like last week's volatility is definitely continuing. We had a pretty large sell-off overnight, and since the market opened yesterday at the Sunday session, something to notice on the daily is that we had this really large rally, this demand push at the 65 area all the way up to 74, almost $10, 1,000 ticks we've rallied, and we've reversed that, all of that price, coming all the way back down to test these lows now again. And what that looks like now here on the 15 is that we're coming back into these lows of that swing, and likely that we're going to at some point take out the overnight low, at least test that area, and push below to test this demand here. So all of this is untested. So at some point today I'd be looking for those lows to be tested and taken out. As far as trade opportunities, when I came to the screen, we were kind of up in this area, looking to test into the top side of this balance in this range. If we could push above there where we were at, it was a 66 round number, so I was looking for that to be tested. Wanted to see what happened when we pushed above these highs here, and what ended up happening is we got this push here and a nice spike down, and that's when I really started paying attention. We had this low volume node here. I didn't take a trade on that. That was almost what we call a high tick failure here and a push, but since that was on the same bar, I didn't have anything to do. When we came up, being that we were also at that 66 round number, I wanted to see how we were going to take that. Also, these highs here and this high here, and then this space above. So I wasn't really looking to get aggressively short there or long without some kind of failure below to push and break this area. I didn't have anything on the long side. Then when we did come up and high tick this, and a little bit of increased volume but not a lot of interest, and then we pushed down. We got this push bar here at 607, and I had an entry here at 65.87 to go short, and we never got back up there. Missed it by a little bit. Could have been a little more aggressive with the entry, but stop would have had to have been above here at 66, so a little wider stop than I was comfortable taking just at market. So, but my target was at the 55 here, this low volume area, and a flush of these lows. So obviously it went way well below there, all the way down to 65.18. So my target was hit, 32 tick target, and could have taken that down all the way down it to this 47 to break the 50, but then it just sold off. The bottom really fell out of it. So beautiful trade. I missed fill there, but we can see too the volatility looks like it's going to be highs, which is great for opportunities, but it's also can be an issue for stops getting hit quickly, and so really got to pay attention and work hard to make sure that my read is correct. But being that we did come all the way down here and buy pretty aggressively out of this area, I'll be watching this. But being that we have these lows now that are untested, and if the bulls are in control here, maybe with this high volume here, we did buy aggressively out of this area. Every time we've been down here, we were buying aggressively out of this, but this one especially. But I wouldn't be surprised if we do come down to challenge this volume here and then take out these lows. But it's possible also we just rally out of this area and move higher. But I'll be watching. I had entered a long here at 65.50 after this low tick of this little zone here, this low volume area, and then this push, and we didn't get the pullback. This was where my entry was, and we only pulled back to about 53, so it was close. Stop would have had to be way down here at 36, wide stop, but with the volatility, if I'm going to get any trades, it seems like I'm going to have to take some larger stops today. So I haven't pulled the order yet, but now at this point, I really I'm not super comfortable with getting all the way back down to the 50. I doubt it's going to happen anyway, but we'll see. My target on this trade was 83, up into this low volume area here, and to flush above this liquidity of these bar highs. Trying along here. Finally, it seems that we haven't been able to push lower, and definitely a large stop on this one below 15, so we'll see what happens. But might be a little early on this one, but we also had this little small push here. All this supply has been taken out and tested, so I'm expecting to take out to the top of this range. We've already tested all, so this is all kind of weak up and through the highs. There's that pop I was anticipating, so we'll see if we can get a bust through the highs at 58, but also I'll be looking to take out the overnight high at 75. So it could be a real nice trade here if it can hold this area here. And this was the push I was hoping for. So this is definitely better for the trade, but it's nice to be in ahead of that pop. Definitely see a flush above this 50, which would be nice. I'll be looking at lock in 20 there, but if we can get up to this 52, we should definitely see this IB high taken out at 58. And then all this structure is pretty weak. There's nothing really too solid here. And then on the 15, possibly to go up into the 67 area as well. This little final spike down was the last. I really am feeling confident about this trade now. I'm going to get my risk off below that 30, so I have it set at break even 29, and now it's looking like it's coming back down, but I'm feeling good about it. If I can just survive the pullback, we'll see what happens. I did not survive the pullback, and I was just taken out. So when this high here was taken out, push above here, that wasn't good for the longs at all. So I'm happy that I de-risked where I did, and it looks like the longs may be the ones that are actually in trouble here. We are kind of just shopping around in this value area, in this balance, so starting to get overly aggressive on either side is a little bit risky as I see it, because we might start to run these lows and spike out these lows here before moving higher, or vice versa. We could easily spike this high and come down. And with the rally that we've seen off these lows, it makes sense that if we're going to have further expansion on either side, that these lows and highs are going to be ran. So now I'm just going to be sitting out until something else sets up. But so here we are back down, revisiting this untested demand here, where we rallied up out of this range. So it makes sense that we would come back down and test the upper side of value here from the overnight session, and kind of the lower side of this distribution, even if we are going to move higher. This isn't surprising at all to see this move down. So yeah, maybe we come back down, fail back down into this lower range, but it's hard for me to stay out at this time. It's to try to anticipate and jump into trades here, but there's not really much for me to do, being that we're above this range and below this range here. So just need to see now what's going to happen. Are we going to fail back up into this value? Then I'll be looking to get back long through the highs, or do we fail back down into this range and back into the lower distribution of this value? So just got to be patient here, not much to do. So I got long here after we pushed down and took out this little supply area here. Now I'm hoping now that we can hold this structure, and I'm going to be looking to take this off at the 99, right around the 66 round number. And once again, we'll see if I can survive this pullback. But we need to hold this structure, and I already de-risked this trade. I'm in at 73 long, and this was just kind of a subtle little trade here. We were pushing down into this previous zone, and seems like we were rejecting here. And we'll see if we can come back up to test the top side of this range and push back out. But it's looking good so far. Oh boy, taken out again, break even on this push down. So Definitely could be wrong on the context here, but it looks like the risk here of this structure not holding, pushing up above this, to me seems like lower prices. So it may very well have been on the wrong side of this trade, but it was worth a shot, possibly pretty aggressive, but not surprised either that this failed. But it was worth a try to push up above these highs here, and if it held, then we could definitely see us push back out of this range. But looks like just as likely that we're going to push above these tops in this structure and to test the bottom side of this little balance here. And we're right at this the point of control for the trade of the day. So mediocre. I think I need to not get stuck on this long idea, being that it made more sense as well. Even I tried this long here, and then once we failed this area here, this is when I was taken out. This is my de-risk point, but it made a lot of sense to start looking for some short opportunities, at least to take out the lower side of this range and then fill in some of this space back into this untested demand, at least down into this round number. So could easily have seen a short opportunity as well, and I was looking long to take out this structure and the up into the overnight highs. But so now, until it's proven that we can get back out of this lower part of the distribution back up into here, I probably am not going to be looking for anything long again. I entered an order here after we put in the structure and created this demand that took out this supply in this area. So I was hoping for a pullback to this 84, 85 area and didn't even get close to a fill. So now the concept was that we would be pushing out of this value and back up into the upper side of range, into this distribution to at least test into this area. And then, obviously we may get back up into this upper distribution here. But that was the trade and the idea, but I don't even consider it a good try, because it just shot up without me. So right here we had no pullback whatsoever. So worst case, my expectation would have been for this to get back to 86, and then stop would have been down here below 72, so 71. So still pretty big stops that seems because of the volatility that's required on most of the setups and trades that I'm seeing today. But so I don't know if I'm going to get anything today, but now this is looking, we've pushed outside of this, so now I'll be looking to see if we can hold the top side of this area, the top side of this range. And it's a little tough too, because now we're going to be stuck between these two, the upper side of value here, lower side of this range here. So took a long, tried to grab a long here off of this little small failure here, and we had this push, this little demand push here, and I was ripped out pretty much immediately within, I would say, less than a minute. See, I was in for, less than a minute for 11 tick loss on that one. So, and then the issue with that trade obviously is to fill in this, looking at this demand in this space, all this untested demand here, and I was looking at the possibility of breaking through this high. We did have some trouble here, an untested supply above. So I don't know, a little conflicted on that. Probably not the best try, but well, I am long again. We'll see if we can make this happen. It seemed like that was definitely a shakeout on this push out that took me out on my previous trade. So I entered again at 31. We'll see if we can get a push up. Now this supply here is a little bit troubling in that we are in this high tick, but context for me is definitely to take out this high here and push up into the overnight high. Will I hold for that? I don't know. It's getting a little later in the day, so if I can get anywhere near that 50 and lock in 20, we'll see what happens. But I feel like pushing up into this the top side of this structure and to get into that area is definitely a possibility, or even up into this point of control from yesterday. So the bulk of this trade is there at right around the 67 round number, so I definitely think we could see that and possibly higher, but we'll see. I don't know if it still is going to have that in it today, but it's definitely possible. Above the 45 here, we have some untested supply, and then up here as well. So minimum, I'd be looking for this to go to this 49, but we could see sellers coming in anywhere in here. So we will see. Cross my fingers and hope we get a little lucky. So now we are above this little mini structure, and this is what I would be expecting to hold. We do have a little bit of increased volume coming in with our last seller here. Once we flip this last little seller here, we should be good at least into the 50 and higher, possibly into this area. The 58, I'll really be looking to manage it tightly up into the 58. But if I can lock in 20, I definitely will. So when we look at the number bars, this is definitely an issue for this trade, because there is some supply here and volume here. So we can see that there's been a reaction. I'm going to hold it through that. It's hard because I could have taken it off into the 50, which still is a nice 18 tick trade. I am taking quite a bit of risk here that we break the highs, so that this structure from below holds, and we can see sellers coming in here again. But my context is long, so I'm going to hold it and see if we can push. On the next push up, if we don't get a nice flush, and if we can't take out this volume, I will lock it in, I believe. There's 20 locked in. We'll see if we can run this high. Got a nice little square up so far. So I think it looks good. Now, the only question here is, can I survive a pullback? So we'll see. I wouldn't be surprised if we came back and took me out and revisited the 50 from above, but we'll just have to see what happens. See if we can push this. I'm going to be trying to lock in 30 here on this next push up of the high and see if we can run it all the way to the overnight high. It's having a little bit of trouble here, but that's to be expected at the high here. So it's always the hardest thing to not choke this out, give it room, but it would be kind of a shame to lock in 30 here, being 3 ticks away from the high. So there's going to definitely be some volatility here, and we're going to see some flushes one way or the other. Can I survive? I did lock in 54 here, which is I think 23 or 24 on the trade. So it's gonna push, it's gonna flush one way or the other here in any second, I would say. That's 30 locked in. Not sure if I'm gonna survive the flush of the highs, but we'll see. Not looking good, which is a little bit of a shame, but I just got taken out for plus 30. But that's a hell of a good trade. I don't get those very often, so very, very likely, very confident that this will run and flush these highs. So probably could have grabbed at least 40 on it, and I'm guessing higher. The way that it's trading, it seems like it definitely wants to go into, what would I expect here? Yeah, I mean the overnight high, and then anywhere into this. I mean, we could see it run all the way to the 90, into the 90s, but I'll take it. That's fine. Lock in 30, and that's probably going to do it for me today, since it's almost 10 a.m., which is right around the lunch hour New York session. So feel pretty good. I missed some really good opportunities in those trades early in the morning for probably 60 ticks. Both hit my target and close on the fills, and so that feels pretty good. My context read has been pretty dang good today. I think I could have been a little more aggressive on trading this low tick, since I took the previous one to get out of this area, and then this one as well. This one I don't see how I could have traded it much more aggressively, because I would have had such a wide stop here, 20-25 ticks, which is not acceptable at all. So because if we hold the top side of this range and come down, that wouldn't be surprising at all. So yeah, pretty happy. Well, it's been going pretty well. I'm stringing together some pretty decent days lately, and I didn't do well last week in the beginning, so I had some pretty crappy days in the beginning of the week, but just gonna continue to work on it, keep working it out. Got pretty lucky on my exit there at 61. 63 was the top of this swing right here. 66 was the top of the move. And now, if I was still in this thing, I'd be pretty dang uncomfortable sitting below this area, and now this fresh supply coming in. So basically would be right around giving back this entire trade, because we could see this structure, this supply coming back all the way down to this 30 area, anywhere in here, down to really to my entry is possible. So with the volatility and what we've seen today being later in the day, I'm really happy to have locked in 30. And now this is really just a crapshoot. Do we come up, and we have trouble above now to run these highs. So you never know what's going to happen. Sellers can come in anywhere. So trade management is pretty key.